Hi and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to take a look at running Mosquitto on Docker, on a Docker container. Now I'm not a Docker expert by any means, but I am a Docker user and I've found Docker an excellent way to run Mosquitto, the Mosquitto broker, and other applications I use like Node-RED and Home Assistant. Now the reason I like Docker is because it's very flexible and it makes it very easy to run multiple versions of a particular application. So you can run multiple versions of Mosquitto. You can run Mosquitto version 1.6 or 2. Whatever, all on the same machine, and they don't interfere with each other. It also makes it very easy to upgrade an application, so you can upgrade Mosquitto from a current version to the latest version without actually affecting the running version. This you can't do if you're just doing a standard installation, because doing a standard installation, if you want to install a new version, you basically overwrite the existing version. So it makes it very easy to do an upgrade because you're not losing the existing version of the application, and you can always revert back to it if you need to. So let's start by looking at a few Docker and Mosquitto basics before we actually look at the specific steps for Mosquitto, for running Mosquitto on Docker. We'll start with images and containers. Now the Docker journey begins with a Docker image, and the Docker image is basically an application template. And now from that image you create containers, and I've got a little diagram here that hopefully shows you that. So we have our image and we can create a container, or we can create multiple containers. So each container is a running version of the actual application, the application contained in the image. The image basically acts as a template. Now, although you can actually create your own images, I'm going to limit this video to using existing official images, and this is basically the use case for most people. If there is enough interest, I will actually cover creating images as well in a subsequent video. So let's start off by looking at the official Mosquitto image, and this is at the Docker repository, and you can see here there's the URL. I'll put a link in the video description below, and you can see on the top right here there's a command to actually download the image onto your machine. Now you need to do this before you can actually use the image. There is another way of actually downloading it, and we'll cover that as well later on in the video. Now if I just scroll down here, you can see that actually there are multiple images, and we indicate the image we want to actually pull by appending the tag onto this command here. So we'd put a colon here and the actual image tag, which is on this is 2.0.18, or here it's 1.6.15 OpenSSL. We'll see that as well when we run the command later on. If we just scroll down a bit further, we've got some information of how to use it, so I recommend you do read this. Now, to make sense of this, you have to be aware of Mosquitto, and you have to have worked with Mosquitto in a standard install. Now, the Mosquitto, when you start, it uses a configuration file called mosquitto.conf. If you're running this on Linux, it's in the /etc/mosquitto folder. On the Docker image, it's in this folder here, and it's in the folder, it's in the actual image itself, and we'll actually look at how you go into an image and inspect this again later on. So everything is under here, the Mosquitto folder, and we can see there's also go up, there's also other folders here. There's the config folder, there's the data folder, and there's the log folder. Now the log is obviously for the logs, the data is for the persistent data. So with Mosquitto you can configure persistent data, and again we will look at that. And the config is basically where the mosquitto.configuration file is located. Now the default situation for Mosquitto, whether you're in Docker or whether you're just doing a standard install, is the mosquitto.configuration file is actually blank. Now to use it in version 2 and above, we actually need to edit this configuration file. Otherwise it's only accessible on the local host. on Docker, you do get a strange error message, not all the time, but I have had it, and it did cause me confusion until I found this thread here, and I'll put a link to this thread in the description below. You can see here you get an address already in use and address not available. Now, when you check it using a netstat, you find that nothing is using that address, and I got very confused by that until I found this, and here's the explanation here about Docker binding to the Mosquitto binding to the loopback. So if you do get this strange message, it's probably because you're using the Docker image and you haven't edited the Mosquitto.configuration file before you started Mosquitto or started Docker. If we look at the official documentation on the website, we can see here there's a few examples of how to actually use this image, and we use the docker run command to actually run the image. Now when you do this, the run command will check for the image locally, and if it's not available locally, it will automatically download it. So you don't normally have to go and use a docker pull command, because the docker run command will actually download it for you. And you can see there's a couple of options here. The -p option is actually a port mapping. They call it publishing. Docker calls it publishing. So basically, we're mapping a container port to a host port, and you can see we do it twice because we're actually using multiple ports on the Mosquitto broker. And then the volume here -v is actually a volume mapping, and we cover that in bit more detail later on. And you can see there's another example further down here, and this one is using the -it switch. Did that one use them? Yeah, that one used the -it switch as well, and that's mapping more volumes. To make sense of that, we're going to have a look at containers and hosts. So we'll put that little bit on hold for the time being. But one thing I wanted to point out in these commands here, it's missing an important switch, which is the name switch. So it's --name. Now, when you run a Docker image and it creates a container, Docker container, the container has an ID. Now, the ID is a bit long and difficult to type. So to actually make it easier, you always give the image a name. Sorry, you always give the container a name. So when you run this, I always run it with a -name switch. It's --name and whatever name you're going to call it. So I call mine Mos Basic or Mos1, Mos2, whatever it is you want to call it. But it makes it easier when you actually start and stop and attach and do whatever with the container. So don't run it just like this. Always use the --name switch, and we'll look at that when we actually run our own image. Okay, but before we do that, let's have a look at how the Docker container fits in with the actual host, so we can understand what's actually going on here rather than just using these switches. So to help you with that, I've created some marvelous diagrams you'll see here. No expense spared here. And you can see we got a standard host and a client, and we got Mosquitto running on the host, and we connect to it on port 1883, the default port. Now if we're running multiple listeners, then we'll have different ports here. Now port 1883 is in use on this host, and so no other application can actually use this port. So if you try to start Mosquitto twice on this host, it will complain. So to connect your client to this host, you use the host IP address or the host domain name and the appropriate port that Mosquitto is running on, all ports that Mosquitto is running on. So how does that fit into the container? Oh, before I move on there, all of the configuration files and all of the log files, persistent data, etc. is stored locally on the host in the file system on the host machine. Now if we look at the container, now we've got our host here, which is the outer box, and inside we're running a Docker container, in which case it's Mosquitto. Now we saw the port mapping or the port publishing. So if this port here is 1883, which is the host port, it's mapped to a port on the running container. Now the running container the port the running container is used is determined by the mosquitto.configuration file in that container. So when you actually use the default container, everything pertinent to that container is stored within the container. So the mosquitto.configuration file is in that container, and if you've configured persistent data and if you've configured logs, they're all stored within that container. Now, to access this container, this Mosquitto container, from a client, from an external client, we need to map the port to the port on the host. Now, it's usually a standard port 1883 to 1883 mapping. But if we're actually using multiple ports on the container, then we need to map multiple ports. And we saw that in the example there where it uses multiple -p switches to map multiple ports. Now, just because you're using multiple ports on the Docker container here, it doesn't mean you have to map multiple ports. If you don't map the ports, they won't be accessible to the client. So imagine you've got a Docker container here running SSL on port 18883 and standard listener on 8883 and a standard listener on 18883. And if you only map to 1883, then the client would only be able to access the 1883, so it wouldn't have access to the SSL port unless you actually mapped it. Now, when we start a container using the run command and specifically using the -name switch, then Docker remembers that command. So the general format is start it with the run command, stop it with the Docker stop command, and then start it again with the Docker start command. Now, when you start it again with the Docker start command, it remembers what you typed in on that run line. So it remembers all of this. Now, if you forgot to map the port, then you can't go back and edit that. What you have to do is basically delete the container and start all over again. And we'll have a look at how we do that later on. But do be aware when you're actually doing this is that once you actually typed in this run command, it basically remembers it. And so if you want to change it, you have to delete what you did and then you have to start again. Okay, I just want to finish this video by looking at volume mapping. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've got the Mosquitto configuration file and we've got the persistent data and we've got log files, and they're all created inside the container. Now, the problem with all that is, and we don't need to do anything else, we don't need to map any volumes or anything, but everything will be inside the container. So if we actually delete the container, then we delete our configuration data, we can delete our logs, and we delete our persistent data. So if you have data that you need to remember and that you need to store, then you need to actually store it either outside the Docker container or you need to install it in a Docker volume. Now, I've got very confused with volumes and bindings, and which is the two options, because they both use the -v switch to actually configure. No, the bind mounts, as they call them, and this is what I use, basically map the folders, internal folders on the container to a location on your host machine, a location on your host machine which is accessible to you and can be backed up by the standard backup program. Now, Docker volumes, which actually Docker recommends rather than the bind mounts, they actually map the data in the container to, again, a Docker volume, which is actually stored it's stored on the host machine, but it's stored within Docker itself. So it's all accessible to Docker. So it's not accessible to the standard backup program that you use to actually back up your host machine. It's actually part of the Docker framework. So I tend to use, or I prefer to use the bind mounts, and that's what I'll be showing you in the examples that we're going to cover, and that's what you saw in the example that I showed you earlier on the when we looked at the documentation for the Mosquitto image. And I'll show you in the next video how this all works. But basically, these two folders now, all the multiple folders are actually synchronized. So whatever you do into the folder on the host machine here on the bind mount is actually reflected into the container, and whatever you do on the container is reflected here onto the host machine. Okay, so that actually brings us to the end of this video. We've gone all this way without actually looking at a Docker command yet, but in the next video we'll actually look at actually running our own containers. So until next time, bye, and as usual, if you have comments, if you like the video, etc., etc., then you know exactly what to do.